Hello, Fraser Jack here, and welcome to this phase 2 in our cyber transformation process. And in this particular zone, we get into some of the real technical side of it with your tech teams, and our tech nerds will work with them to start setting these things up. So the first thing we really want to do is make sure that we're looking at the email domain and making it nice and secure and safe. So we sort of talk about this concept of turning your current mailbox into a registered postbox, but what we're really doing is looking at putting a whole lot of security features on the back end of your email system so that two things. One is a whole lot of junk emails and malicious and spamming emails don't come into your system, but two, it also locks up the back end so people can't or find it very, very difficult to be able to send emails that make them look like they're coming from you. So the problem with a lot of emails is sometimes we just shut down our settings on the emails that are coming in, but we're not monitoring what emails are being sent in the background that look like they're coming from us, and that's a problem, because if somebody's sending emails pretending to be you, and you don't know about them because you've locked your front end down, then it's a bit of a problem. So we've got to make sure that your clients aren't receiving, or your staff aren't receiving emails that look like they're coming from you when really they're not. So that's what we call a spoof email. And I sort of mentioned in this piece that if anybody can send up a MailChimp account for their business, then anybody else can set up a MailChimp account and start pretending to be that business as well. So it's a really dangerous place on the internet to have your at yourbusinessname.com.au or whatever it might be out there, and so what we're really doing is locking that down. The way that we do that is we put it into a system where we register the domains. That takes a little bit of time. We register it and the domain comes back, and then some emails sent to that domain. Now they're sent to things like the postmaster at yourbusinessname.com.au and abuse at yourbusinessname.com.au. Those are two email addresses that the internet uses to determine if that's a legitimate address. And what actually happens is that goes to somebody or something, or goes to a space, and you really want it to be coming to you. So if there's any abuse or postmaster issues coming from the internet saying that this email domain is sending particular emails out, then the emails for abuse and postmaster need to come back to you, so that you know that they're being that somebody's out there doing that. So that's one of the things that takes a little bit of time to set up, understanding where those emails go to currently. Often if you say crazy domains or something like that, if you purchased it from, the abuse might actually go to crazy domains, not to you. The next thing we want to do is just authenticate whether the email is sending emails or not. And as we mentioned, that every domain that you set up, if you set up yourbusinessname.com.au, then that's 3 domains that you need to protect, and you need to make sure that we're telling the internet effectively where and how you send emails and how you don't send emails. So if any emails show up going through servers that we've said do not send email, then it's a red flag for those servers to stop sending them. The next thing we want to do is set up what we call SPF records, which really just looks at things like your IP address and who's and where the information and records are coming from. Obviously, every computer has an IP address, and if you're sending everything from, say, one location in Australia, and then all of a sudden something from Russia or China or South America starts showing it's sending emails on those behalf, it's a bit of a red flag. We also set up what's called a DKIM authentication, which essentially is an authentication key. It sends, for all intents and purposes, a version of your padlock to the rest of the internet. And when you send your emails from your email domain, essentially it provides a crypto key which fits the padlock. So essentially, any receiving email service says this says it's coming from your domain.com.au, and it fits the authentication key fits the padlock that they already have. So it's a bit of a way of it. It's again, if we think about that registered post conversation, it's about creating a signature for your emails that can be checked on the way through the internet. So that if anything comes through that doesn't have your signature, it's a red flag. DMARC compliance is the concept of what does your DNS, your computer, do. It's a set of instructions that says if we get red flags, if these particular things fail, then it shouldn't come through or shouldn't go any further, or it should be scrapped. It's a set of instructions essentially for your SPF and DKIM and the other parts of your DNS setup. So as I said, these things are fairly complicated and complex, but our tech team will work with your tech team to make sure they're set up. The whole purpose of this video is really just that you understand what's going on and what your tech team is working on, so that you can get your head around how this works. Email signatures are really important as well. Email signatures should state in there, obviously, not just the disclaimer about privacy, but again, the information that forms part of an email has signatures. It has something in the heading. It has something in the main body of the email as well, saying this is from you. Anti-spoof policies. Now, if you have a look on the Cyber Collective website, you'll see that there is an anti-spoof policy. Now, what that does is essentially tells the internet exactly where emails that say they're from the Cyber Collective come from. So do they come from, in my particular case, they might come from our Active Campaign software, it might come from our Score app software, or it might come through our actual website domain, thecybercollective.com.au. So an anti-spoof policy is actually a really important part of your terms and conditions on your website, and it's a little bit about setting up a page for that. And you can go onto the Cyber Collective website and have a look at our anti-spoof policy down the bottom in the next to the terms, where it clearly states where information comes from. We also help set up with a spam blacklist. Now, spamming is a big business. There is lots of servers involved in sending out millions of emails and billions of emails every day, and some of those main spamming email domains, can just be blacklisted. So, we think about blacklisting and whitelisting. Whitelisting means that's what we want to come in, and blacklisting means we want to avoid these ones. So by doing that, it cuts out a lot of spam into your system coming through, and really just means that your staff are going to get less emails coming into them for that might be going through big spam filters. So the next thing we do is we talk about the concept of archiving and emptying out your email and domain settings. So having things like auto archive, so that if your emails come into your domain server and then another copy is downloaded onto your, let's say, 365, then those copies are taken off the internet, so they're not remaining on your domain email system. We also want to make sure that we permanently delete all deleted emails. So if you delete something out of your 365, it actually deletes off, or it's not on the internet anymore. So there's also, we can set up things like auto archiving, where you might your emails might archive every 90 days, and making sure, so once something's 90 days old, it automatically goes into an archive file, getting it off and out of your email. Email is meant to be a system where data is in transit, data transfers, if you like, and think of that flow of information coming in, and then we're supposed to take that information and store it away in the vault or in the filing cabinet, and a lot of the time we end up leaving it on the internet. So this is a really big piece of the transformation process, but it's a very, very important one. I would also encourage you to talk to your clients about not storing all their personal documents in their email. So if they've sent you emails before, you might look at that and go, great, our clients have sent tax returns and super statements and all these other things via email in the past. You might want to put them in your vault, but you might want to say to your clients as well, maybe take them out of the email, because if somebody gets into their email and they search, which has a lovely search engine, most emails, then they can find that information. So that's where we're up to in phase 2. That's one of the first steps in phase 2. This step takes a bit of time, and depending on your tech teams, go through the process to go through all these individual items and perform these tasks and configure your email domain setup. It takes a bit of time, but our tech teams will work with your tech teams to sort that out. You just need to know what's going on and how it's working. And again, you want to be able to know how to talk to your tech teams about that archiving issue and making sure that you're not storing information in a space that's easy to find. Thanks for watching this video. We look forward to bringing you the next videos and as we roll through phase 2.